You see a splash of crimson red, a woman on the verge of a nervous breakdown, a family secret that's about to blow everything up. If any of that rings a bell, then you've definitely stepped into the world of Pedro Almodovar. You don't just watch his films, you feel them, you experience them. His cinematic language is so distinct, it's basically his signature. So let's dive in and really unpack what makes an Almodovar film. Well, an Almodovar film.
Right off the bat, it usually starts with a visual shock to the system. The very first thing that grabs you is the color. And I'm not talking about just a pretty backdrop. In his movies, color is a character, all on its own. We're talking about this vibrant, super bold, sometimes even overwhelming palette. These intense reds, blues, and yellows that perfectly mirror the high-stakes emotions of his world.
And then the drama hits. And wow, does it hit hard. We're talking passion, desire, betrayal, and love all cranked up to an 11. His characters are never, ever simple. They are messy, they are complicated, they're flawed, and they're driven by these raw, totally unapologetic emotions.
This quote from Critic Film just nails it. Almodovar has literally built an entire universe with its own set of rules, its own look, its own emotional logic. So that's the big question, right? What exactly are the core components of that cinematic language? Let's break it down.
Okay, first up, let's talk about the aesthetic. This is kind of the surface level, the distinct look and feel that immediately tells you, yep, you're in Almodovar's world. So these are his signature tones, but the real magic is how he mixes them all together. The melodrama makes you feel everything so deeply, but that little wink of dark humor keeps it from ever getting too sentimental. His shots aren't just beautiful, they are so meticulously planned out. He can turn a simple kitchen into this vibrant theatrical stage. And the music is never just a background track. It's a character in its own right, pushing the story and turning up the volume on every single emotion.
And you can really see that unique blend in action here. He'll take melodrama and push it right to the edge of tragedy, and then, just when you can't take it anymore, he'll slice through all that tension with a moment of really sharp, dark humor, or sometimes even straight-up farce. It's this incredible fusion that creates a world where you can have this intense emotional pain and just wild, laugh-out-loud comedy existing in the very same scene. It's masterful.
Okay, so that's the what of his style. But to really get the why, we have to look at the world he came from. You see, Almodovar's films didn't just appear out of nowhere. No, they exploded out of a very specific and pretty revolutionary moment in Spanish history. So for decades, Spain was living under the thumb of this dictator, Francisco Franco. But when he died in 1975, it was like a dam broke. This cultural tidal wave called La Movida Madrileña was unleashed. It was this wild, chaotic, creative rebellion. It was a complete rejection of that old conservative Spain and a full-on embrace of sexual freedom, artistic expression, and, a pretty vibrant nightlife. And this timeline just shows you how deeply his career is woven into this movement. I mean, his early films like the cult hit Pepe Lucy Bomb were basically La Movida on screen. He wasn't just filming the scene, he was a huge part of it. And it all leads up to the international smash hit Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, which basically introduced this new, vibrant Spanish spirit to the entire world. Now that we have that cultural backdrop, let's zoom in on what is, without a doubt, the absolute heart of his work, his deep, profound fascination with and celebration of women. From his muses to his matriarchs, Almodovar's universe is overwhelmingly, wonderfully female-centric. And right at the center of that universe is a theme he returns to again and again, with just incredible depth and complexity: motherhood. Now, the mothers in his films are rarely simple, and they are definitely not saints. They're fierce, they're passionate, they're incredibly resourceful, and they're just deeply, deeply human. The Criterion Collection just puts it perfectly here. In his films, motherly love is shown with an intensity that's almost holy. It's treated like this force of nature. Sometimes it's nurturing, sometimes it's destructive, but it is always, always powerful. And just look at the incredible range of motherhood he shows us. In All About My Mother, being a mother isn't about blood, it's about care. It's about a grieving mother who literally builds a new chosen family out of a group of outcasts. Then you have Voltaire, where Penelope Cruz's motherly love is this fierce, protective shield that leads her to cover up a murder to save her daughter. So yeah, it's pretty clear that in his world, motherhood is never just one thing. So this focus on women,
Well, it's actually part of a much bigger project, which is his fearless exploration of all kinds of societal taboos. Almodovar's films are constantly challenging our traditional ideas about gender, about sexuality, and even about identity itself.
This academic take really gets to the core of it. His films are basically arguing that gender isn't some fixed biological fact. Instead, it's a performance. And this was an absolutely radical idea, especially coming right after the super rigid gender roles of Franco's Spain. You know, that old belief that men and women had these fixed, unchangeable natures.
And I mean, here's the contrast in black and white, or, well, in Almodovar's case, in vibrant color. Under Franco, your identity was totally rigid and oppressive. Men were providers, women were homemakers, and there was zero room to be anything else. But in Almodovar's Spain, identity is fluid. Gender is a performance. Sexuality is complex, and queer identity isn't just there in the background. It's often front and center. So what happens when you take this bold aesthetic, this post-Franco rebellion, and this deep dive into female identity and desire, and you throw it all in a blender? Well, you get something totally new, a genre that is completely his own. His style is so unique that critics actually had to invent a word for it, Almodrama. And honestly, it's a perfect description. It's not just melodrama. It's this unique fusion of genres. It's part psychological thriller, part warm-hearted character study, and it's all filtered through his one-of-a-kind, passionate point of view. So let's boil it all down. What's the Almodovar formula? Well, you start with that visual pop of saturated color. Then, you ground the story in that rebellious freedom of post-Franco Spain. You make sure to put complex, resilient women right at the heart of the story. And finally, you fearlessly break every single societal boundary you can find when it comes to gender, desire, and identity. And there you have it. That is the essence of Almodovar. Which kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. His films, from his wildest comedies to his most heartbreaking dramas, are all about identity. The identity we're born with, the one we choose, and the one we create for ourselves. So, if film is, as he's explored, the skin we live in, what does his vibrant, complex, and liberated world reveal about the possibilities waiting inside?